Welcome back to Beards and Brews. Hey, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell so you know when we have another one brewing. Fellas, this week's movie is going to be Air Force One with Harrison Ford. What'd you guys think of Fly Hard?
That's exactly what it is. This is the first time that I'd seen it. Starting out, I was like, man, this is a pretty good, pretty serious type movie. About halfway in, I'm like, man, this is kind of fucking ridiculous, and it just doesn't stop from there.
I think the second half of that quote is definitely on the VHS box cover.
Yeah, just wait for the first explosion. After that, shit goes ham.
Ham. Fuck, dude.
Hey.
I'm just going to put it out there. Harrison Ford as the President of the United States is probably the best, worst decision this whole movie makes.
Oh man, 100%. Sexy Ford making pouty face, making curmudgeon face, making confused face is all that he does. And it's ridiculous, but satisfying at the same time.
Yeah,
I thought you were about to I thought you were about to start a campaign for Harrison Ford actually to be president, and I don't know if I would be against that.
he gets a really serious call. It's like, oh my god, the Russians are invading Georgia again. He's like, Russians? Why'd it have to be Russians?
Fucking credits roll immediately.
In real life?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, they should have already run.
Like, it starts out very Under Siege to me, though. You got, like, the SEAL team sneaking in to grab up old dude in Moscow.
It's definitely like the beginning of any 90s political thriller. Hard cut to Russia somewhere. And like you said, some team breaks in. I think they're trying to like free some people. I don't even remember, and it doesn't matter. It fails. Everybody's mad. Hard cut again 2 weeks later. The whole world's mad.
Was that 2 weeks later? Honestly, like, I don't really know the political points of what was going on. Basically, we start out, the president is giving a speech in Moscow about something to do with terrorists in Kazakhstan. I don't know. A lot of people are not happy, though.
Yeah, not even his aides and advisors, because he went off script. He's just like, listen, we fucked up. Next time, less fucked up. And everyone's like, yeah, whoa, he's the best president.
Eric, those are exactly my notes. Listen, we fucked up. America.
Yeah, and even the president of Russia, or like how he's played the movie, he even stands up and applauds him.
Now, later on, the movie gets a better grip on it. But the first probably, maybe 20, 30 minutes of this movie, the music's tempo is so up and down because there's so much going on. They want to show you so much shit happening at once. So there's the president, and the music's like triumphant and kind of swelling. And then it'll cut to Gary Oldman and be like, espionage shit.
Extremely heavy-handed. Like if you didn't understand that Harrison Ford good guy and Gary Oldman bad guy, you're deep shit. Because like this movie is just like, listen. Look.
Oh, look, I'm a goddamn old man on the Millennium Force One.
Perfect.
But this movie really doesn't take long to kick in at all. Like, and you're introduced to everybody super quick too.
Yeah.
You see Gary Oldman and his crew of journalists from Russia not really sneaking on to Air Force One. They are led on to Air Force One.
And I know this movie goes absolutely off the rails, like logic-wise, about halfway through, but this is the first time where you get the question, like, if they're having like political issues with Russia, why in the hot fuck are they letting Russians on the plane?
No,
Period.
I think what it has to do with is Russia in this timeline, and this is going to be a little bit confusing. Russia in this timeline are our allies. We have like a puppet president sitting in Russia. Kazakhstan, not in this timeline's #1 supplier of potassium, but they do harbor some terrorists that are, from what I understand, Soviet nationalists who want to reunite the whole motherland.
Okay, well, I mean, all right, maybe I misspoke. Not Russians, but like old Soviets.
Well, in 97, isn't everyone old Soviet?
But whatever. Gary Oldman's bad.
97. This was 97.
Gary Oldman
right?
bad. Now, with the whole Gary Oldman bad thing, he's working for the who the fuck ever they are, and yeah. I know I'm jumping way ahead, but later on, whenever they, spoilers, get out some evil dude, what the fuck? Like, I lost my shit because they have a fully armored Chinook helicopter rolling in, how do these people have all this fucking gear and Russia hasn't already knocked it all out of the sky? Like, they can't just be keeping that shit down the block and no one's going to mind.
I don't want to put too much parallels with our own current political situation in here.
It's probably just some leftover junk from the USSR, care of Nicolas Cage from Lord at War.
I'll go with that. While we were discussing that, though, we have the president aboard Air Force One. And
Air Force One.
Dude, as soon as they got on the plane, they do this little tour with the camera. And I went, holy shit, I know the exact layout of this plane, like to the T, from Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
The whole fucking level was there. And so I was laughing my ass off because I knew everywhere they were going in the plane.
I got the Mile High Club vibes from Modern Warfare 2, the epilogue.
Yeah.
So a question that I have is this the actual layout of Air Force One, or at least close to it? I didn't imagine Air Force One was this fucking big.
It's like a 767? It's huge, a big plane. Like, I'm pretty sure the layout of the plane isn't classified, but like certain things are.
Oh,
Does
sure.
that make sense? Because you can buy a Cadillac limo just like the president, but like none of the doors are like a foot thick or whatever, or the super tires or whatever he has.
Is the president's limo? Is that a Cadillac?
Yeah.
Oh, sponsor us, I guess.
Can we just get personal caddies?
In the meantime, while all this political espionage is being done by Gary Oldman, who's out there speaking Dracula to everybody he meets.
Nice.
He's in there watching Bobby Boucher play the foosball on television. And did you guys catch the life lesson he gives his daughter? It's only cheating if you get caught.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was also a moment where, like, I thought, like, more of his character would come out, but, like, it'd be super violent, maybe. Because, like, he's an ex-Vietnam whatever, and he's got, like, all these certain set of skills that'll come in later. And the dude's obviously had a drink. He's passed out on the couch, and his daughter just runs up and jumps on him. I thought all that training would kick in immediately, and just like, ta! And it's just over.
You think he's just going to break his daughter's neck?
2 parsecs. I don't know.
14 parsecs or something. I don't know.
Star Wars reference.
But
insert generic Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you mentioned Gary Oldman's accent or his Russian speak, and I want to talk about that for just a second. I love Gary Oldman. I think Gary Oldman is a phenomenal actor. This Russian accent's atrocious.
I know, without even asking, I know that all 3 of us agree. Just like, absolutely. Because there are times later in the movie, especially when he's screaming on the phone at people, wherever he's screaming at or with. He's just Gary Oldman just being like, everyone!
I have a generic accent from somewhere that isn't America.
100%. He's losing it half the time. He sounds like Dracula half the fucking time.
Yep.
And then sometimes he sounds Russian.
He just those like small moments. I think the best parts of his Russian accent are really just at the beginning, like when he's getting checked out by the people and he puts his thumb on the laptop because that's how they work in the 90s. That's pretty much it. It's just downhill from there. He's just Gary Oldman.
No, he turns into Tim Curry trying to be a Russian.
Oh man,
is that a thing?
Yes, Nos Vidanias.
That just makes me want Tim Curry in this movie, and also I miss Tim Curry.
But we're still really just within the first, I don't know, half hour of this movie, and it comes along real quick. What we forgot to say is there's a traitor. I don't really know exactly what you want to call him.
A turncoat. There we go.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, he just flips a switch and is like, hey, Russian fellas, you want these M16s? Because we got M16s.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like, this is probably, besides a dumb action later on, this is probably the highest you have to suspend your belief, because in no way does this movie explain why this guy made this decision.
Nope.
Like, not for monetary reasons, not for family reasons, just so this movie can happen.
And even though he's made this decision, again, I'm sorry, I'm skipping to the end. He's made this decision, and none of this makes fucking sense, especially way, way, way down the line, because... Spoiler, no one finds out. He gives himself up at the fucking very end for no reason.
Yeah, he could have after all this is over, he could have went back to his normal life in the president's Secret Service. You're absolutely right. And he's just like, no, I got one shot, one opportunity. I guess I'll try and capture it. But he lets it slip.
We'll definitely get into that, because that's a deep moment in this movie where it's like, well, he could have done this at any time.
Dude, for real. So the guy is throwing a fog machine grenade. Smoke starts to fill the room. Everyone's like, fire! And everyone grabs guns. All hell breaks loose. There's an escape pod from NASA that gets shot out. But
Yeah.
This is like Apollo grade too. That's a command module. You're not fucking fooling anybody.
we just got it laying around.
This is from Apollo 13.
Okay, so I got a question. When the fuck did he get out of the escape pod? Because I fully thought for the next like 20 minutes that he was, in the escape pod, going, landing down on a parachute, going back down to Earth somewhere.
Yeah.
Turns out he wasn't, and I never saw him leave the escape pod.
Yeah, the missus thought that too, and in that fleeting moment, like it's very brief. Like when he gets shoved into the capsule, I guess, and they shut the door, which doesn't shut, and both Secret Service members get blown away. In that brief firefight, he slipped out like a snake. Why it had to be a snake, I don't know.
Because for the next like 20 minutes of this movie, he is doing his best Solid Snake.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's doing straight up Hitman Agent 47 nonsense, like throwing a coin so the guy's like, what's that? And he goes to fucking forward shoulder roll down a corridor 5 foot from the guy and he doesn't hear it.
Dude, man, every time he takes a tumble, that is not Harrison Ford. And you
Nope.
can't fucking pay me to believe that. That's some horseshit. That's clearly a dude like 30 years younger, throwing himself down the stairs, and then Harrison Ford popping up in front of the camera like, Otis.
Stairs. Why do it have to be stairs?
Yeah.
Gary Oldman is telling everybody, hey, we gotta get in there and get these pilots, kind of 9/11 style. And they can't get in, and the pilot's like, no matter what happens, we land this plane. And
yeah, they're redirected to Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany, and they're supposed to touch down there.
And they get some like really weird telegram, and it comes in pretty slowly. So he's like, Du hast mich.
Du hast mich gefragt? And she's like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman ends up blowing the door off with impact C4 somehow, I guess.
Dude.
What?
Like, okay, so in a weird turn of expertise, like the missus watches a lot of those Mayday flight disaster things, and she's like, that can't happen. I was like, why? Because locks on the pilot's doors weren't standard until post 9/11. I was like, that's entirely specific. And also, he just blew up that door with C4 on a moving plane. All right.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about C4, but I feel like the explosion would be a lot bigger than it was. He literally like just turns his head and is like, okay, I'm good.
Oh, did he just like take a wild chance, so he could C4 himself?
Oh.
But Gary Oldman, he fucking ends up shooting the pilots because they land, and he's like, hey, I'll shoot you if you don't take the plane up. And he's like, I'm not gonna. And he shoots him, and then he has, of course, the backup pilot. It's like, can you get this up? And he's like, yet, I suppose so, Mr. Russian man.
His right-hand man is basically the landlord from the Spider-Man movies. So the whole time I'm thinking, like, he's just doing this because Peter Parker was a dick to him.
Yep. And this gets weird real quick because not a lot is explained in this movie besides America and Russia, ? And so all hell's breaking loose. The plane last second takes back off, and we're treated to the classic war room roundtable of the government. And there's Ziggy from Quantum Leap, and he's pissed.
That's a reference. Goodness.
I acknowledge that Quantum Leap existed. I have no idea. Like, I don't know anything about what happened on that show. But there is Glenn Close and William H. Macy. We've got two of those in this room, and one of them...
no. William H. Macy's on the plane.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But we do have Glenn Close in this room as Vice President.
He just insert name. Yeah, she's just Glenn Close.
It doesn't matter.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Madam Vice President. That's all they call her.
There we go.
I gotta find one name in these notes.
Madam Vice President is there, and she's like, you know what we need? We need to go save the president. Send the Red Berets. And a bunch of dudes in Red Berets go and find the president's pod, and he's not in there. And this is where we get introduced to Sneaky Ford.
Yeah, but just before then, like, as all that was happening, they do kind of somewhat land at the, like, that German airport. And look, Air Force One is a big plane. Huge. And it's racing around this fucking tarmac like a Hot Wheels car. And I'm just like, what in the fuck is happening? And it's in Looney Tunes fashion. the Russian fellow that just took over the pilot that he just shot, he basically just like pedal to the metal and just like ramps the plane off the edge or whatever back into the sky. It's just like
Yes.
gravity's not a thing.
And then the Germans on the ground, the German soldiers are just like, what the fuck?
That dude, the air controlled dude that just got back from the bathroom or whatever, missed everything. He's like, and who was that? The Russians?
Now, Gary Oldman's on the phone with the VP, and she goes, "Hey, how are things on the plane?" His response is wonderful. "Oh, some are dead. Just some are dead." And he goes on to speak in his Dracula accent, saying, "I've crossed oceans of time to attack the great Satan America."
Yeah. He was very sassy in that first call, too, because, like, hello, I'm speaking from Air Force One, the most secure plane in the world that I just took over. Lol.
Not to mention,
No.
I have the president's baseball glove.
Just like random shit. As whatever.
That may or may not be significant, depending on how much he likes baseball.
Then the
Well,
narrator's like, it
yeah.
was significant.
I was like really expecting it to come back or something, you know, because he really put a lot of interest into the baseball glove. Like, why was it even brought up?
Yeah, he mentions
it
it
was-
twice even.
Yeah, it was either something that was cut or something completely forgotten. Like they get to the end where Ford and Oldman are like fighting, and the one guy's like, "Hey, do you want to tie in that whole glove thing?" And it's like, "Fuck, a little too late."
Toss it to me, I'll hit him with it.
Yeah, just give me the damn glove. I'll just do something with it.
It comes down to Gary Oldman versus Harrison Ford down in the cargo area, and they've went through all this luggage, and Gary Oldman's beating him in the head with a baseball, and he has to roll away, and Gary goes to throw it, you know, Nolan Ryan style fast, 90-some miles an hour, and he just think you hit him in the face, and all you hear is the impact, and then it pans back, and the glove is there, holding the ball.
And
Get
then
off my plane.
are they gonna be like, and deadpan to the camera, you're out?
Fuck!
Ah.
Yes, that would have been even better, and then he like kicks him out of the plane.
Yeah.
Guys, we need to make a film.
Air Force 2. Wait, it's a helicopter. Never mind. It's not as cool.
Is it a helicopter?
Yeah.
That's where you pooped in Air Force One. We get more sneaky president. We get more table talk exposition. There's all kinds of weird shit going on. We get like a chair spin surprise, and we find out
yeah.
that President Ford is a fucking brawler, yo.
Yeah,
I
he can
guess.
tussle.
I mean, he does tussle, but is that a tussle? I think most of this stuff is like a hard kerfuffle because, like, man, in the 90s, he was like, what, in his 50s or 60s already? And they're just like, hey, just be the tough man. You were in Indiana Jones, you know, whip some ass, pun intended. And these young stuntmen are like giving him the roundabout, and he's just like, yeah. And they're like basically throwing themselves against the wall just to make it work.
It looks like one of those Steven Seagal Aikido demonstrations. Not like when he was 20, but now.
Oh, yeah, because he's like, get out of here. Or,
Yeah, where he
"Get
just
outta
grabs
here.
the wrist and then
Get
they
outta
flip
here."
through a fucking wall.
Get off my plane. Get
So-
off my plane.
So do I
That's
need to
exact-
remind you two that about 20 years after this movie, he tried to play Indiana Jones again. 20
then-
years after this.
Yeah, then 35, he's going to do it again.
Ugh. But now he's killed this man with his intensely large ham-like fists. And he takes the dead body and writes, "Ho, ho, ho, now I have a machine gun."
Beautiful.
And we get some presidential pew-pew as the piano intensifies during this.
See, I'll tell you, I was doing a whole lot during this part of the movie since he was so into that football game, Michigan Notre Dame, by the way, really into that. I was doing a whole lot of comparisons to football here. He starts out doing a quarterback sneak.
Okay.
And then he goes into a draw play, you know, when he lures that guy in, and then he hits him.
Gotcha.
All right, at this point, he's doing the run and gun.
Well, was that a Hail Mary?
We'll get to the Hail Mary for sure, but
Fair enough.
this is pistol or run and gun.
Yeah.
There's a
Well,
man, football is violent.
Well, I was going to say he should have tackled him a little harder because he didn't knock him out. He took his gun and just walked away. And the guy just like rolls out with a sidearm and just like starts pelting away and gives away his whole position. So basically, if this were a stealth game, he played for about 5 minutes before raising the alarm of the entire place.
But it
Yeah, he done
doesn't
fucked
matter
up.
because all these people are so incompetent that the president single-handedly defeats them all.
Kinda, yeah, yeah. It's like one by one. If he can get the jump on him, he gets the job done. But it doesn't feel satisfying. And through the whole time, like I've seen this before, and I do like this movie. But like I kind of wanted the president to be OP for no reason. Like instead of Harrison Ford, just like John Wick as president, and he's just like straight up folding people in half. Like he's just unstoppable. That's what I kind of wanted.
Yeah.
Watching it, I was able to come up with so many one-liners. Like they could have had Arnold as the president of Russia. I know he's Austrian, I get it, but
No, make him president of the United States.
no, Russia, because he's got a line right here. Whenever they have to call him, because the terrorist is like, "You were free, my mentor, Mr. Resnick, from Call of Duty Modern Warfare," and
Mr. Resnick from the Goo Goo Dolls?
he doesn't want the world to see him.
Never mind.
So he's got like to call. Well, they call the president of Russia, and they say, "Hey, help us out. If you help us out, we put our necks on the line for you." He goes, "Is the president for sure okay?" And they say no, and he goes, "No president, no deal."
Yeah, because at that point they still like they went after the little drop chute, the little what's it called, escape pod,
Yep.
and he wasn't in there. So they're like, I don't know, where's the president? Is he dead? Why would the Russians lie to us? Also, there's a little subplot going on between Vice President and the Secretary of Defense. They're kind of arguing over who's actually in power if the president is incapacitated.
Yeah, which I find that kind of odd, but like I know the movie
Yeah.
has to kind of stretch for time. Like the 25th Amendment's pretty clear, and I feel like in that position they should kind of already know. But fuck it, Harrison Ford's John McClane at the moment.
Exactly, and they ain't signing shit. Now we get some sad Gary Oldman because he's giving us like some backstory, and it's like 2 seconds of him caring before it turns into him yelling.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because like they try to humanize him, which I feel like is their idea of like making Die Hard better. Because you know Hans Gruber is like fucking classic, kind of tough to mess with the formula. But they're like, well, let's give him this backstory where like he's got this really sad military background. You know, like he's gone through a life of just fighting and fighting. But like he's talking to a little girl, and the girl is clearly like, no, you're the bad guy in this situation. You can't convince me otherwise. He's like, when I was your age, I had to pick up a rifle. It's like, no. You don't understand. You just like blazed through 30 people. You're the bad guy in the situation.
Like you said, the little girl, the president's daughter. We've also got the president's wife, the first lady. She is also on board, and they are held captive on this plane, separate from the rest of them. And also the other thing I want to talk about, this little girl is terrible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had to look it up because I guess she was familiar to the missus. Like, she's acted in 3 things. Look it up, 3 things.
That's 3 too many.
Yeah, like I know like child actors get like a pass most of the time because they're kids, but man.
She said words. It's just that's the only thing that she did. She said words.
She's
Yeah,
like,
there was no true inflection or emotion behind them. Father,
Yeah.
you're a villain.
Gary Oldman, you killed those guys, and then you're gonna kill us next? Oh my god!
She's
Yeah.
got a gun up to her head or up to her mother's head, and this super villain, this terrorist, is like kissing her on the forehead. Meanwhile, she is just showing no emotion whatsoever. Not in her eyes, not in her voice, not in anything. She's just like, I am here.
Maybe she was just like extremely confused of what accent Gary Oldman was using.
Dude, I started laughing because he's like, I have 3 kids. And then I was expecting again, later on, him to be like, I was lying, you got me. I ain't got no kids.
I got it.
Now, down below, while carrying Oldman is upstairs giving his lecture, fucking Daddy Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones searching for treasure through everyone's luggage.
Yeah, did he actually find anything useful, or was he just like rummaging around for like, I don't know, ideas?
I think he got that phone.
I think he got, like, I remember him picking up a phone when he was like rummaging through like the regular part of the plane.
Yeah.
What I remember from when he was down below is him paying an unusual amount of attention to the milk.
Yes! Yeah, he picked
Yeah.
up the carton. I was like, okay, I don't remember this part in the movie, but maybe this is useful. Maybe he'll use his military background to fashion MacGyver this carton into something. But maybe he was just extra thirsty because it doesn't go anywhere.
No,
It just
was
wasn't
100%. He has recently watched Ernest Scared Stupid, and he knows that Miak will beat the trolls.
Yeah,
Whatever.
that's what he needs is some authentic Bulgarian Miak.
This is ridiculous. Because like
Yeah.
he stares at this like little refrigerator thing with the carton, and then like for an absurdly long time, as we've mentioned. And I don't know, because like the only reason why that would amount to anything, because he has to be there in order to hear that guy on the next floor coming his way, so he can kind of like bring him downstairs to beat the shit out of him.
It's ridiculous. And the
I
guy
got
that he's
nothing.
beating the shit out of is Wishmaster from the Wishmaster series.
Oh, that one. Really?
Yeah.
That didn't even cross my mind. The only thing that I remember in that moment was that Harrison Ford put on like a really shit Russian accent, because the guy's like, "Hey, is everything okay down there?" Like in actual Russian. And then like there's a hard beat, and Harrison Ford's kind of like looking around, hugging the gun. He's like, "Da, everything's good. Come down and help, please."
It's still better than Gary Oldman's. It is.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
But while they're in there and they're having a rumble, he dials 1-800-CALL-ATT and gets patched through to the fucking White House. And he's like, "This is the president. Put me on hold. Now I'm Nixon. God damn it."
I kind of half expected that little bitchy lady that picked up to be that one woman from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Ferris Bueller.
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
exactly. When you started that sentence, that's exactly who I pictured.
Yeah, it just had that same feel, and I'm a little disappointed that it wasn't, but it's basically the same character. Like, the president calls, like, "I'm the president, patch me through." He's like, "Listen, you're not the president, and this isn't a prank call. All right, this is a federal offense, and you need to hang up." He's like, "I'm the Harrison Ford, damn you," you know?
All right, honey, if you want to make a federal offense out of it, let's make a federal offense of it. Oh, God, you're actually the president.
I told you, bitch. Now I'm caught. Tell the F-15s to shoot my shit.
Yeah. Like, I know, like, the Russian fella doesn't have, like, any clue about, like, American cadences and how... I'll hope that's the case, because he's legitimately not talking to that guy. So he's like, "It'd be really crazy if those planes outside shot their lesser missiles. They wouldn't really do much but knock us off our feet."
They do. They shoot a fucking missile at him. They chafe it, or chaff, or however you want to say it. And all of a sudden, boom, Harrison Ford and Wishmaster are rumbling. And guess what? Harrison Ford don't fuck around. He's like, "Guess what? I've got these massive right hands, and I'm going to throw the same punch 4 times, and you're going to stand there and take it."
That's the skill that he picked up in Vietnam, just throwing hands. That's
Exactly.
it. Or excuse me, hand.
Yeah. You know what would have made this movie better? Some of those nice graphics from like the 1960s style Batman. Pow!
Zip.
Pow.
Wham!
Zap. Cardboard.
Yep.
Let's get some of those in there.
But they start killing people, like, left and right. So they killed a dude very Hans Gruber style whenever, Mr. Let me get a Coke. No, don't tell him we're friends. He's like, "Hans, Booby." He smokes that dude. And then they were like, "Hi, this is Melanie." And Melanie's like, "I don't want to die." Gary Oldman says, "Too bad," and shoots her in the head, too.
Not the, like, harp on her acting either, but she was basically like, "Please don't shoot me." And it's like, bang.
But you are 100% spot on with the Roger Rabbit.
It
Yeah.
was so silly.
I'll be honest, like I kind of liked her. I thought she was like, I don't know. Let's leave any words about that out. Never mind.
Champman's like, "I wanted to have my gun pressed against her head."
Like, they're carrying away
that's
her
a
dead
good-looking
body,
woman.
and he's just like, "Hey, you using that?"
You using that?
she
Oh,
looks
shit.
like Annette Bening, like a young Annette Bening, if Annette Bening was in like I don't know, an early '90s Tim Burton movie.
I don't know. Well, that puts her out of the movie. So we're one less hostage, and everybody in DC around their little, I don't know, what do you call it, King Arthur table, or just like, "Oh man, what are we gonna do in the next 3 minutes?" Or was it like every minute on the minute?
Every half hour.
Yeah, I thought he like sped it up or something.
Oh,
No,
did
that's
he?
after the fuel dump.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be every half hour. They're supposed to shoot another hostage. And at some point, they say the next one's going to be from the president's family or something like that. I don't know. We'll get to that. They end up shooting several people.
Yeah.
Yeah, just indiscriminately.
And also, we haven't even mentioned William H. Macy is in this movie.
We have mentioned it, and also, yes, he is in this movie. And it's kind of weird to see him so clean shaven after Shameless, but like here he is.
Like, he's so non-acting. He just like the little girl. He's just like so vanilla and crystal clean. He's like a crystal Pepsi in this movie, except not exciting at all. I just expect a little bit more out of William H. Macy, you know?
It's not his fault. It's the movie, because this movie is that scene from Patton when he's in front of the flag without Patton. it's just he's just patriot man. You know, he's at the president's side, whatever he needs. Oh, the president goes first. You know, he doesn't even call him by his name. He's like, the president must do this. He's that guy. You know,
I just doubt that someone who can talk like that much of a pussy would end up in the position that he is in.
lackeys can exist from bottom to top. I'm just gonna put that out.
Well, he
For
is
real.
definitely a bottom.
Oh no.
While all this nonsense is going on, Harrison Ford decides, guess what? I'm gonna bring down Air Force One with a fucking butter knife.
Yeah, you're right. Like he's scuffling around the underbelly of the plane. He's calling like, you know, the vice president, "Oh, what do I do? I'm Harrison Ford." And I guess the brightest idea was to just take a butter knife, open an easily accessible panel, and cut 2 wires. There you go. That's how you get rid of the fuel.
I remember this little part because he's
Yeah.
he's talking to somebody and he's like, I don't know, there's 5 wires here. There's a green, a yellow, a red, white, and a blue. I don't know what to cut. And he's like, cut the green. And then he loses battery on his phone. It's just like, well, it only makes sense to leave the red, the white, and the blue.
America.
That's exactly what happens. So he cuts the yellow one, joins them together, boom, fuel's getting dumped. Why is the fuel getting dumped? I don't even remember why they do this. I think I need to refuel my patented Beards and Brews drinking vessel right now. What I'm refueling it with is Bitburger. This is a premium Pilsner, is what it is. German style Pilsner. This looks like a Pilsner, smells like a Pilsner. It's got a nice golden pour to it, nice white foamy head. Tastes not too different from, you know, your traditional American Pilsner. A little bit more hoppy for sure, especially on the back end. But the basic flavors are all right there. You got grain, maybe a little bit of corn, I don't know, but mostly just your basic like malted grain, basic beer flavors. Then you finish it up with some kind of a spicy herbal type hop. Like it's better than Budweiser or Miller or whatever, but not all that much better. It's pretty good.
I actually have to agree. I've had this before. It comes in a nice tall can, so it'll, you know, get you from Berlin to Warsaw in a single tank.
Oh, that'll start a war.
Fellas in the war room, they're like, well, we're going to have to just go ahead and refuel this plane to avoid any kind of, I don't know, casualties.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
I was very amused by the fact that once again they could have used such an amazing line here. The ability to parody with this film is flawless. So the whole time they need to get this fuel, all I could picture was Lord Humongous going, "Give us the gasoline and fly away."
You talk about the ability to parody. I'll be honest, there's one scene from this movie that I've seen before, and I swear to God, I thought it was from like Mars Attacks or something. It's the scene where Glenn Close, as the vice president, goes out to talk to like all the press, and she just straight up, like the first lines that she says is something along the lines of, Air Force One has been hijacked, and everybody just shudders. I really thought that was a line from like another movie, a much less serious movie, because the way it comes out is almost comical.
The way she relays the line is exactly how Harrison Ford would have done. It's like, everybody, Air Force One has been hijacked.
I don't think that's the same at all, because she comes out and is like, Air Force One has been hijacked.
It's like the joke without a punchline.
That's exactly the way I took it.
While all this is going on and she's making these announcements, the president has somehow taken a prisoner guard. He's like, "You're my Russian prisoner now." And he's like, "I guess, Mr. President." And he's just boying him around. He gets all the hostages, takes him down to the cargo hold where they send a fax that says, "When you give the gasoline, drop to X amount of feet so we can jump out the goddamn plane."
Yeah. And that little bit, like with the dude being held up by Ford, just like off camera, it just, I don't know. It's another like bit where it's like a little too much. Like not even the action. That's silly and that's fun. But like you see a buddy, a comrade, and he's completely disarmed and he's just chilling, leaning up against the wall. Like, "Dude, you good?" And he's just like, da? And
Da?
there's no suspicion whatsoever.
Ponyo.
Just got a gun pointed at him the whole time. Now, they exposed the mole here as well, like, ba-na, it's this guy, and you go, "Who the fuck is that guy? I haven't, what?"
Wait, you talking about
the one from earlier? Like the balding guy?
The actual turncoat guy, yeah. They're like, "Oh, look, you know for sure it's him now because he's working with the Russians."
I don't think it was ever brought up until the very end where he like turned the gun on the president.
Oh, no, I got you, fam. Let me lay it down.
lay it
So
down?
they're all inside the cargo hold, and the president's getting them all out, giving them all parachutes, and they're all jumping and escaping. And there's only like 3 or 4 people left in the room whenever this baddie decides to blow open the cargo hold, depressurizing, which sends everyone flying out. The president is barely hanging on. William H. Macy is like, "Oh, let me grab him. He's the president."
Yeah.
And then the terrorist guy's like, I don't know. And then he looks to the Secret Service guy who gives him the nod, like, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it was extremely subtle because I didn't even notice either. The entire time I was just thinking, oh, that H in William H. Macy just stands for helping hand.
Oh, but yeah, fucking, they got the president hostage and they tell everyone to back the fuck up. You got Ziggy down on the earth and he's all Mr. Oh, we're going to take control of this. Sign this goddamn paper, Mr. Vice President or Mrs. Vice President. And she says no because you know who's on that fucking plane? Bruce Willis as Harrison Ford in Fly Hard.
The way he always had his hands behind his head
Yes.
definitely made me want him to have like a gun just taped back there somewhere.
Yeah, we do cut back to that war room scene quite a bit for there to be not really a whole lot going on there. Like, you know, for the whole time, like, it's not going to matter what they decide, whether they sign it, whether they don't. But the Secretary of Defense is adamant that, like, hey, 50 casualties, I mean, even if the president's on board, that's still pretty good if it means that, you know, we don't have a war in Russia to deal with, right?
Listen, it sounds like a dickhead move, but I kind of completely agree. I just like 50 devs or World War III. Like, you know?
He makes perfect sense. He says sign the paper so he can't make a decision as a man as opposed to as the president because they have his family hostage. And he knows that the president will cave to that pressure. And he does.
He does, yeah. Like, he doesn't even get to count to 5. He gets to 2. He's like, I'll do it.
I mean, I get it. Like, I do the same thing for sure. Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, no, you're
100%.
absolutely right. But, like, Brady and I are totally siding with the Secretary of Defense. Like, he was right on the money.
I don't know. Like, if the president gets taken down by terrorists, no matter what, that's starting a war. They'll find somebody to start a war with, whether it be like Kazakhstan or Russia or the questionable government of this guy that's getting released from prison. Like, they'll start a war with somebody.
Well, in not perfect world, as soon as they hijacked Air Force One, the president would have been dead. Like
Yeah.
they wouldn't have even sprung the trap until they were alone with the president. They even said that you're going to be allowed 10 minutes alone with the president. And then that never they were like, nope, we're going to do it way earlier so he can. Anyways, movie.
Yeah. It would have been a much shorter movie, roughly 20 minutes.
But in the meantime, they're freeing Radek, and they're like, look, we're playing Russian music, and we're giving you a uniform. And on the plane, the lady goes, hey, I thought you said if he did that, you would free us. He turns to them, turns into Arnold Schwarzenegger, and says, I lied.
Forgive me, I lied.
Yeah, another little sassy moment was like, forgive me, young lady, but I lied.
That's a solid line, to be honest. But yeah, the whole thing that they did this for, the whole thing was to get this Radek guy, General Radek, a radical nationalist, whatever, from Kazakhstan, out of prison, get him out of the gulag, set him free, and, you know, we'll let the president and his family and all that go.
I feel like this is really high stakes for what they wanted. I almost feel like they could have, like, with that helicopter completely loaded, they could have just used that to begin with.
Yes.
I have too much logic. All right, back to the plane. Gary Oldman, he gets what he wants.
And if by what you want, you mean fucking Harrison Ford cuts through his duct tape and begins to beat him to death aboard Air Force One. And
Air
the
Force
wife
One.
tumbles.
Hang tight. Air Force One is the name of his right fist.
Yes.
He just wails on him.
But you're right. They tumble down the stairs, and it's Gary Oldman and the First Lady, and then they just disappear.
Well, it's like this weird moment, right? Clearly, he's at a complete disadvantage, and anything that he would have done would have gotten him killed. But they kind of set up to where, like, the other terrorist guy, his gun's like on the other side of the room, and so when he makes a move, he's got to run all the way there to get it. And in the meantime, they kind of tussle. He gets some shots off. Man, it's definitely one of those things where, like, this is bullshit. Like, there's not even any way around it, but, like, it has to happen in order for the end of the movie to happen.
Like, this movie gets exponentially more ridiculous the farther we go. I alluded to it earlier, but the first, like, half hour of the movie is like a completely reasonable movie. Second half hour steps it up a little bit more in the ridiculous game. At this point, this is just what, like, you have to have hard suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, like how did they fall all the way down the stairs without getting hurt? Well, because it wasn't actually Harrison Ford, it was a stunt double, and Gary Oldman had a bulletproof vest, whatever, at the bottom of the plane.
Now, this is where I really started to like laugh a lot. I enjoyed this whole end bit. So Gary Oldman has the first lady, he's throwing all the parachutes out, which is smart. He's like, hey, fuck you, I win, I'm out of here. But instead of just shooting them, he goes, you know what, let's do it. I want to stick the knife in you and twist it, Matrix.
Yeah, exactly. And he just goes full Benny. He's like, Matrix! Ah!
Yeah, at this point, most of the hostages actually escaped with parachutes. But at this point in the movie, we've only got like, what, 5 or 6 people left on the plane or something?
It's like the president, the turncoat, William H. Macy, and like 2 plebs. That's about it.
I started getting really confused because, okay, number one, Harrison Ford easily dispatches Gary Oldman. He wraps a cord around his neck and pulls his parachute, which snaps his neck, and he goes, get off my plane. And then I fucking lost it. I lost it whenever it showed the bad CG Gary Oldman dead in his parachute.
Yeah.
Away.
Yeah, we get to see a lot of bad CG in the last 15 minutes. It's a
And
treat.
Oh, man, the fucking jet. Oh.
Oh, it's... Yeah, no, 100%. Like, to begin with, the first, like, hour and 40 minutes of this movie, there's no, like, ridiculous CG that needs to happen.
No.
All of it's just fine, and then they throw in, like, the last half hour, just a lot of images that are like, is this cursed?
Yeah, like the back half of this movie is kind of like the dogfight from Independence Day for no reason.
Yeah.
What it reminds me of is The Mummy Returns, The Mummy 2,
Mm.
where
Oh.
sort of in the beginning you have all this, like, you've got fine CG, it's nothing to write home about, but it's fine. And then they just run out of money at the very end and gets ridiculous. That's
Yeah.
what this is.
Wireframe
Yes.
jets.
The worst offender we'll get to, like it's at the very end of the movie.
Yep.
But
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately, we get a moment to where like, hey, let's get everybody off the plane. Gary Oldman's dead body's probably going to float into the Ukraine somewhere or whatever. So they have this AC-130 like flying parallel, and they get this zip line down, and this very uppity soldier's like, hey, I got to get the president off the plane. He's like, hey, I'm the president. Get these people off first. They're more important. But he's like, no, that's my order. He's like, I'm going to order you to go fuck yourself. And then like they get like the wounded guy off. They get another guy off.
Yeah,
And
they
then, like,
do.
and then for whatever the fuck reason, the turncoat is finally like, Mr. President, I'm gonna kill you. And then he's just like, nuh-uh.
Let's talk about this little ziplining activity that they have
Whoa,
going
whoa,
on.
whoa.
They
You
have
talking about repel, man.
Hell, man. But yeah, we've got one plane and another plane, and there is basically a steel wire connecting them.
Correct.
And you're supposed to zip line from one plane to another in the middle of flight, like fucking 15,000 feet in the air.
Yeah, just
It
press
looks
Y.
ridiculous. It looks ridiculous and fucking fun. Elon Musk, sign me up for this.
It goes from life-threatening thing to like, damn, this is a thrill ride.
Yeah, no, I want that.
It is super cool. Now, the mole, for no reason, goes, I'm going to kill you, Mr. President. He goes, guess what? I got fists. And again, beats this man to death with his bare hand because he's the fucking president.
Yep.
Ties it around his waist like Dr. Alan Grant in Jurassic Park and leaps out of the plane as it crashes into the ocean below.
Yes, and this is what I brought up earlier. Like the absolute worst offender when it comes to computer-generated imagery is fucking Air Force One, a 7, whatever it is, huge plane. It doesn't just jam itself in the water like it should. It skips off twice off whatever sea and does a barrel roll sideways like it's a frisbee that hit the ground. It's embarrassing.
Did you
But the
like how
plane-
it crinkles up like a fucking aluminum can instead of like tearing apart in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, it's almost like, you know, when you like have a mission failure in a PS2 game. That's exactly
Yes.
what this was.
It's egregious, to say the least. that all right, they get the president on board. That other plane just scoots off into the sunrise, into the sunset, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what time it is here. And then they change over the call sign. They say Liberty 24 is now changing call signs. Liberty 24 is now Air Force One. Everyone cheers.
Yeah, and then he looks right down at his hand, kisses his fist. Hell yeah, America! Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
But the end of this is just ridiculous, isn't it?
But there's a charm here. It's almost like when you make a movie like this, like a Die Hard copy, the first half of this movie does political thriller really well, and you kind of get sucked into it. You're like, okay, all right, you have my attention, proceed. And then the back half of this movie is exactly what you wanted to see. It's just this dumbass action movie that amounts to pretty much nothing, but it's just the ride of absurdity is what keeps you going.
So you're trying to say that this is like, I don't know, something that you order from a restaurant that is labeled as something really healthy, but when you get it, it's just a pile of sugar and fat? Like something that you're absolutely going to enjoy, but isn't really what you signed up for?
Something like that. It's almost like going to a fast food restaurant and looking at the picture on the menu like, damn, that burger's real good. And you get it and it looks like somebody just fucking mushroom stamped it.
Oh, man. Okay, for me, I actually really enjoyed this movie. Not for the reasons of plot or anything. It's just, number one, it's well paced. It's a 2-hour movie, and let me just say, the minute you sit down, they draw you in with exposition, dialogue, and backstory, and you're actually curious as to what's going to happen. All that drops away and turns into mind-numbing action for zero reason.
Yep.
But by the end of it, you go, all right, that's pretty good.
No, yeah, this is the first time that I'd seen this, and you're right with that. It draws you in, and it gets action-packed pretty much immediately. This movie is both better and worse than I expected coming in. Like, you only need a little bit of that background, and then you're like, all right, sign me up.
Well, there you have it. That was Air Force One. If you have any strong feelings about the movie or the show, leave it in the comment section below.
Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons too. Hit the little bell icon so you don't miss what we're brewing up next.
Get out there and check out all of our different social medias. We got that Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. We are on YouTube, of course. We have, thanks to the Anchor app, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So make sure that you give us a listen. We got a great administrator constantly pumping out new stuff for you guys. If you don't at least give us a chance, we're going to have to hijack the Millennium Force and set all of its phasers to stun.
Get off my plane.